Hitler in 1941 was only bombing military targets in England, but then he said, I'll bomb civilian sites to make them give up. The Brits had already had World War I. They were against the war, polls showed. As soon as they bombed civilian targets, it went to 98% for the war. The Brits got behind it, and it was over. And these dumbasses think we're like them. They think starting a fight with us intimidates us, when it actually, I think, only wakes us up. Any comments on that, Kit? Any comments, Lincoln?
Well, I can't help but just keep thinking about this picture of this clown that you guys keep putting up on the screen. When I see this guy, all I can think is, you know, he needed to be loved. He needed some acceptance. You know, he needed a little bit of something special. But he probably didn't have the self-confidence or the ability to make it through boot camp and be on the right side of right. So he joins up with this knucklehead group, Antifa. He's encouraging it. And, you know, he's definitely not on the right side of right, or he won't be on the right side of, you know, history, in my opinion, by any means.
Not at all. I mean, look at him. You can tell. And he's just completely pompous. He's a prick. If somebody out there is watching and can do this for me, find this T-shirt. I want to know who makes it, and I want to know what the words are that he's got hidden behind his little turkey neck.
One of them's death to traitors. It says death to traitors.
And I want to know that.
Which it's projection. He means himself.
That's fine. And if it's death to traitors, that's fine. But I want to know the context in which it's sold. Is it sold on some white supremacist website? Is it sold somewhere else?
Because it does look like an embedded swastika.
It has some definite hidden features in it. So if that's the case, someone just find it, let us know.
This is all propagated by the Communist Party, by socialism. How is it that this is a professor? This is a supposedly educated man. Have you not studied your history?
Look at Venezuela. Look at North Korea.
Have you not seen how this works out for you? This is going to be bad in the end for your side.
If you don't like how things work here, it's real simple. Pack up and move. If you don't like it, if you enjoy socialism or communism, Venezuela would love to have you.
Absolutely. And everybody talks about how you know, we're so racist in America and everything. I've been to 60 countries in this world. America is probably the most tolerant country on the planet.
Aren't they all super class oriented and
Absolutely. You've got we're one of the only countries in the world that has a middle class at all. It's proletariat and people with lots and lots of money and nothing in between. And racism in every man, I'm not going to name countries, but in all the other countries that I've been to, racism exists. It's not as easy as ours. Ours is like black and white. Okay.
No, it's like this tribe against this tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
this religion against that religion.
In some countries, if you don't come from the county that they are in, you are just as bad as any of the other, you know.
And again, they use our Christian ethos against us. We're going out to break. We're going to come back. Other points?
I got nothing.
Well, let's talk about what they do when they fail, because they are failing. The stock market's at 26,000, 2 million new jobs, best black unemployment ever. What are they going to do as the Trump train just continues on? Because all he did was take off globalist measures that were meant to shut us down.
Right.
So I want to give Trump credit, but the credit is he knows what's going on, is doing it. It's not hard to like untie a boat from the dock and then it starts going out.
Right. All of the crap.
It's just undoing. He's like just chopping the chains off. God, we can walk all of a sudden. We don't have 14 giant black, you know, iron balls tied to our ankle. Damn right we can climb a mountain now. All right, Paul Watson's taking over next segment, hosting from London, England. We've got all these different German state-run TV programs telling young children pledge to Allah. Young girls are told teenage girls date Muslim men. Paul's got a viral report out on that. So much more is going on. We've got drudgereport.com linked to our biggest exclusive interview with Steven Seagal, where he refutes these rape charges and talks about the deep state operation. Paul, you're taking over next segment, my friend. But tell us your view on Antifa right now with these documents that have come out that they haven't refuted, how they're trying to trigger a race war. It's pretty clear the media is doing that. I think they're losing. Do you agree they're losing? What do they do next now they've already turned the amplifier up to 11? Paul Watson.
Well, you've got to realize most of these Antifa members are just chicken neck wannabe thugs. They're never going to do anything. But occasionally, Alex, you're going to get one that goes postal. over Christmas, we had a story which the media completely ignored, as they do everything else. PN39 terrorist was an anti-Trump Antifa supporter. This is the guy who planned a Christmas Day massacre in San Francisco. You go on his Facebook page, you've got the screenshots here in this article, liking Antifa pages. This was proven, this was documented that he was an Antifa supporter. I've warned for probably over a year now that one of these idiots is going to go postal. You're going to have a deranged element amongst them, and they're going to carry out an actual terror attack. It's not just going to be violent assaults against people. It's going to be an actual terror attack. The DHS, the FBI have listed Antifa as a terrorist movement. They've done FBI field reports, which have come out in books, which we post in this article, which, again, the mainstream media didn't cover, saying that they've got improvised explosives stored on college campuses and that some of them are going to Syria to get training from actual Islamic terrorists. Now, obviously, that's not the vast majority of them, but it only takes one.
And that's my next point. What about this sick merger that Soros is funding with Linda Saussure of communism and Islam and the left's full embrace that you cover in that viral report where they're telling kids on German children's TV, submit to Islam, and kids go, I submit to Islam. I submit there is only one God. He is Allah, and his prophet is Muhammad. We played that earlier. What? The left is psychotic.
That's like a Sharknado. It's like just putting the two worst things together. Go for it, brother.
They share the same goals. This is the point. ISIS put out a manifesto in December 2015. The headline, the subheadline in this manifesto was European Muslims allying with left-wing activists. Said it is most likely that connections between Muslims and left-wing activists will be made. They're talking about arming and militarizing left-wing activists because ISIS and the far left share the same overall goal, which is the destruction of Western civilization and America. I mean, you had inauguration rioters during Trump's inauguration showing pictures of ISIS beheadings on their phone to Trump supporters who were just having
We were there, Q. It took us 3 hours to get through because they were blocking everybody going in.
Yep. We had multiple altercations where people wouldn't let people through. We had the big one with Black Lives Matter. Ended up
running them over.
Yeah.
And then the police wouldn't let us in.
Then they wouldn't let us in, made us leave the premise, walk around the far other backside. Just happened to make it in because there were a bunch of bikers that were there. But remember, they got in a big altercation because one of them, Black Lives Matters guy, hit a female when we were there.
You got arrested.
And that's
so let's put on screen again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the viral image. I hope Paul tweeted out as well. That's got the media demonizing the image of veterans, not even aiming their firearms at anybody, but saying to Antifa, not today, Antifa. And then the media backs up this scum. We know they're scum. We know they're a joke. But they're the excuse detonator they need, as these documents show, for martial law. So how do people get this image? How do they retweet it out? Because it's so triggering.
Well, this image just took off like wildfire. We received hundreds, thousands of phone calls and emails asking, how do we get this? How do we get this? Well, to be honest, we only just considered running this as an ad. We never really considered putting it out as an image. Well, since then, we are having thousands and thousands of them printed. We will have them with us at SHOT Show next week. If you approach us, we're going to give you one. But also, if you just want to get your hands on one, we will have them for sale next week on pipehittersunion.com and spikestactical.com. So early next week, you can check both websites. They'll be there if you guys want to.
And we should do a limited edition InfoWars version as well.
Ooh, good call, good call.
Because I've told everybody to fund our operations. Everybody loves. We did this Reagan print and this Trump print, 2,000 each. And they were originals by the guy that's in the Reagan library. They sold in days each one and helped fund us for like weeks. So I'm telling you, we need to go with this, with the art, with this angle, with limited edition. People frame it. They fund the InfoWar. This is what it's all about.
And if you pick up one of these posters, no matter where you pick it up, and you decide to take a picture and post it to your social media, hashtag Antifa. Let's take over that hashtag for a short period and show them what's up.
Yeah, let them know how many people out there are actually supporting us. And we've gotten a huge outpouring of support since, you know what happened at first is that we were getting the death threats and we were getting lots of people calling and sending emails and everything. And that was actually in the first couple of hours that it came
The lie goes halfway around the world before the truth puts its pants on.
Right. Well, these were the people that don't have jobs, the people that were just there cruising social media. Once the people that have jobs got off work, then we started getting that outpouring of support.
And again, that's
huge.
exactly what we've said. That's the left whining and crying and doing nothing while the right doesn't say anything. Then after a while, they realize, hey, these guys have done something right. They're not trying to hurt anyone. They're just simply calling for defensive measures.
That's right.
And then the right started standing up because we're tired of listening to other people whine and cry and moan and say whatever with us not being vocal.
Absolutely. And we've got the new shirt at InfoWarsStore.com, designed by Pipe Hitters Union, helps fund the operation. Not today, limited edition. And it, again, has InfoWars.com on the back. It has an American flag on the right-hand shoulder. It's in red. We have the monthly T-shirt, which is the Won't Tread on Me with a red snake instead of a yellow snake. The yellow snake is on limited edition. The red snake is. That's 1 month only. Get 25% off when you sign up to be able to get the new shirt each month at InfoWarsStore.com. And again, no reviews yet because it just came out today. This is how we fund our operations. Thank you all for your support. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. All right, gentlemen, Paul Watson's about to take over after this break. He's got Breitbart London editor on to cover a host of issues. But everybody, let's get your brief take. Kit, a final statement.
Final statement. The ad that put us in this seat right here, 100% we still stand behind. Actually, probably even more so now.
They go out and try to intimidate anybody that sticks their head up.
Yep.
And then when you don't bow down, you get even more stronger.
Zero apologies from Spike's Tactical. We mean everything that you infer from this ad. Take that.
You know, last words. Most of the support that we've gotten has been, really, really good. But people feel like we are saying what they've all wanted to say for so long, but just haven't gotten around to it or had the courage or whatever. But now that we have been attacked and we've, stood up against this, everybody is super supportive. And we couldn't be any more appreciative for that. But also, Alex, I want to thank you for having us on your show. It means the world. We needed this platform in order to, fight the fight. So,
well, I appreciate you guys. My God, I mean, you got George Soros' full page has the New York Times saying, let's have an uprising, let's overthrow America's recovery. And so, wow, telling the truth in a world of universal deceit is a revolutionary act, to quote George Orwell. All we're saying is you want to run around as communists and call for violence, we're going to defend ourselves. Then they try to intimidate you, and you stand against intimidation. It's all a fraud. Once you stand against it, it's like coming out of the storm into clean sailing. It's all talk by these people.
Yeah, I've been in this situation actually before in a microcosm of this situation where somebody says, "Hey, you want to fight?" and then I put my hands up. Okay, I guess we're fighting, and then now they're irate because you want to fight with me? You just said let's fight. I got ready to fight, and now you're really upset because we're going to fight.
We were talking about that last week, Hugh.
That's exactly right. And the bottom line is the war is on. It's an information war right now. We're fighting with words. We want to keep it that way. But if we're pushed past the point, understand that we will fight in a manner that you are not prepared for.
Well, that's it. They got communists and globalists and Nazi collaborators trying to cause a civil war. We're trying to fix it. We got to tell America, like Paul Revere, hey, get ready. All right, Kit, Lincoln, Q, everybody. Paul Watson's coming up to be back on the War Room, coming up with Owen Schroyer. Paul Watson, take over.
We're live. It is the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show on this January 16th edition, 2018. In the next segment, we've got Raheem Kassam coming up. He is the editor of Breitbart London. Went on Sky News a few days ago in a video that has since gone viral where he called London an S-hole, in the words of Donald Trump, and they weren't very happy with him for pointing out that fact. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into his book, which is No-Go Zones, about the Islamic ghettos that now dominate Europe. First of all, in this segment, though, I want to talk about Cory Booker, and we've got this clip set up, who just a few hours ago got up before a Department of Homeland Security hearing and tried to give Kristen Nielsen a dressing down, and he had an absolute fit. He had a deranged, hysterical, anti-Trump meltdown. The headline up on Infowars.com is, Dem Senator has a fit, says he was in, quote, tears of rage over Trump S-hole comment. Because we can't say S-hole, we're subject to FCC rules, unlike CNN, which can say it 200 times a day. So Booker got up in front of this hearing with Kristen Nielsen. He had an unhinged meltdown. We're going to talk about it, but here's the clip. Take a look.
Right now in our nation, we have a problem. I don't know if 73% of your time is spent on white supremacist hate groups. I don't know if 73% of your time is spent concerned about the people in fear in communities in this country, Sikh Americans, Muslim Americans, Black Americans. The fact pattern is clear of the threats in this country. I hurt. When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about his experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt and that pain and to dismiss some of the questions of my colleagues, saying I've already answered that line of questions when tens of millions of Americans are hurting right now because of what they're worried about what happened in the White House. That's unacceptable to me. There are threats in this country. People plotting. I receive enough death threats to know the reality. Kamala receives enough death threats to know the reality. Maisie receives enough death threats to know the reality. And I've got a president of the United States whose office I respect, who talks about the country's origins of my fellow citizens in the most despicable of manner. You don't remember. You can't remember the words of your commander-in-chief. I find that unacceptable. Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful to be on this committee. I'm more than ever today happy I am here.
That is Cory Booker with a phony, righteous indignation rant. Look at his face. He's so angry. Is it heartfelt? Is it authentic? Well, no, because he lies in the very first thing he says. Before that even happened, he went on another tangent, another rant about white supremacists being a bigger threat to Americans than Islamic terrorists. Complete baloney. So he starts off his passion-filled rant with a lie, with a flat-out lie that white supremacists are a bigger terror threat to Americans than Islamic terrorists. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security's own stats came out in a report. The headline is DHS report, 3 out of every 4 terrorism offenders since 9/11 were foreign-born. These are DHS statistics released today confirming that the clear majority of cases, terrorism cases in America, were committed by individuals who were foreign-born. They were not white supremacists. So he starts out this rant on a flat-out lie. He goes on to try and give Nielsen a dressing down because she said she didn't remember if Trump used the S-hole word or not. Not that it matters, because he was completely right. As we've documented, why would those migrants want to come to the West, to America in the first place, if their own countries weren't S-holes? Doesn't mean that they're S-hole people. It means they live in bad countries afflicted by poverty and crime. Complete non-controversy. CNN still, today, 5 days after this one-word comment happened, still had their top story of the he said, she said about, did he say S-hole? Did he say S-house? Who cares? If he said it, he was right. But Cory Booker gets up because he's trying to create a platform for himself to run for president in 2020. Oh, but no, he had tears of rage when he found out about Trump using the word S-hole. BS, complete crap. No, you weren't crying when you found out about this. You were rubbing your hands together thinking, oh, I can go on this feigned, contrived, righteous indignation rant about how upset I am to try and stump a platform for my presidency in 2020. And he does it by lying flat out in the very first sentence of this rant. Absolute crap. But again, they exploit the race card again and again and again, not because they actually care about minorities or brown people, as they call anyone. So, I mean, you're the racist if you just refer to everyone in Haiti as brown people. They have very distinct racial differences, ethnic differences in Haiti, in Dominican Republic, which is on the same island. They wouldn't refer to themselves as brown people. Oh, but the left can do that. The Democrats can do that because they love the brown people. They're the party of the brown people. That's collectivized racism in and of itself. But he gets up with this act, this theatrical drama queen act, pretending he cares about the brown people. And it's completely BS. It's motivated by the lust for power. Because what does he say at the end? And what do all these people say after this? We've heard Ana Navarro say it. We've heard Chuck Schumer say it over the past 24 hours. Trump needs to prove he's not racist after this S-hole controversy by passing DACA. Oh, isn't that convenient? The only way he can prove he's not a racist is by adopting democratic immigration policies. How convenient. This is what Ben Shapiro had to say about Booker's rant. This is insipid. It's John Lovitz acting. No, Booker didn't have tears of rage. He had a presidential candidacy to launch, and if Democrats are fools enough to fall for this sort of theatrical nonsense, let them try it. Americans can still see through this performance. That's what it was. It was a performance. Look how enraged I am. Look how righteous I am. It's not because I'm going to run for president. I'm trying to get myself some headlines. No, it's because I really care about those brown people. Oh, and by the way, you're a racist unless you do everything we say. Again, they sling this race card around, and it's solely related to the pursuit of power. They don't care about those people. Trump was right when he called certain countries S-holes. In fact, my video, which has now got about 3.2 million views on Facebook, another 500,000 on YouTube, goes through all that. Yes, Haiti is an S-hole compared to its next door neighbor, the Dominican Republic, where Westerners go and have luxury holidays because, generally speaking, it's a nice place. It's on the same island, different economic system. They have government that isn't completely corrupt. They have a country that wasn't looted by the Clintons. There you see the graph. Economic prosperity, infant mortality is also way lower in the Dominican Republic because it's not an S-hole. Yes, that's slightly offensive. Oh my God, big deal. Trump's politically incorrect. Who cares? 5 days later, CNN still has it as their top story. It wasn't a controversy. It was him telling the unvarnished truth. Oh, but Cory Booker is really upset. He was crying. He was crying, and that DHS nominee, Nielsen, how dare she not remember it? Absolute drama queen behavior. Theatrical performance. He started it off with a lie in the very first sentence. Don't fall for it. We'll be back in the next segment of The Alex Jones Show with Raheem Kassam. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away. We're live. It is the fourth hour of The Alex Jones Show, and we're joined by Raheem Kassam, who appeared a few days ago on Sky News in a video that quickly went viral. He's here to talk about it, but first let's take a look at that video. Here it is.
Do you know how much youth homicide went up by in London last year? Have you told your viewers that? 70%. Have you looked at the mayoral's police and crime report from December the 12th? You look at that, almost every single measure out of 42, only 4 of them in 4 categories did crime go down. In every single other area, double-digit rises in crime across London. So you know what? To borrow a phrase from Donald Trump, London's turning into a hole under Sadiq Khan.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Raheem,
I'm sure you will.
And there you have it. That was Raheem, I believe, on Friday on Sky News. We have the man himself live. Raheem, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but what I found funny about this clip, which has probably got like millions of views by now, it went viral, that the host had been saying the word S-hole, which we can't say. You know, CNN gets to say it 200 times a day, but we can't say it. The host had been saying S-hole throughout the whole interview before that. You know, in an effort to demonize Trump. He was trying to bait you into saying it. That's what I got from the interview. You didn't really. Then you applied it to a different context, and suddenly, oh, we have to end the interview. It was so offensive. Is that what you experienced during the interview?
Well, I'll tell you how this works. You know, a Sky News producer will call you up and say, we're looking for some commentary on this or that issue, and can you get to a studio? And usually I say, yes, and trot down the road here to the nearest studio, and I'm supposed to sit there and just give some commentary. And that's how the entire clip started. About 15 seconds in, as I was giving some sort of balanced background context to the whole S-hole gate scenario, Gamal Fanbullah, who's the Sky News anchor there, started goading me live on national television. And I'm not one of those people who'll just sort of sit there and take it, or wind back down and apologize. I thought, all right, if you want to throw down, let's really throw down. So I started to use the word back at him. I started to talk about when Obama talked about cursing in the Oval Office, when Joe Biden cursed after the signature of the Affordable Care Act, and how actually Obama had also said that David Cameron turned Libya into an S-hole as well. And he wasn't having any of that. The Sky News enterprise didn't want that on their TVs, and so they actually cut me off. They'll tell you it was technical difficulties, but I have sincere doubts that that was the case. Brought me back sort of a minute later and changed the subject, but I managed to sneak it in once more, and that was in reference to what Sadiq Khan's London currently looks like. So it's kind of a bad experience all around, but it's not my first bad experience with Sky News. I had a viral interview from a couple of years ago as well, when they harangued me for the first 10 minutes of the interview about failing to wear a poppy, having I just got off the train.
I remember it well.
from New York to Washington, D.C. Where was I supposed to get a poppy on the train? So I think, unfortunately, Sky is supposed to be this sort of at least antidote in some sorts to the BBC, but it's not. It's perceived as the Fox News sister organisation, but it's really not. It actually pulls far to the left of the BBC on a lot of issues, Paul.
No, I mean, exactly as you said, it's supposed to be, to the right of the BBC. In many cases, it's worse. I mean, you know what you're going to get with the BBC. You'd think you'd get a slightly different flavour with Sky News. It's often worse. But yeah, I mean, he'd been saying the S-hole throughout the interview. Like, oh, this is so shocking. Like, you don't even say it, do you, Raheem? You stepped up to the plate. He was on the ropes after that. Then he dropped the thing at the end, which is what people love. But Raheem, I got a tweet last night in response to me posting this video. I'll read the tweet to you. It said, if you don't like London, of course, you referred to parts of London at least as S-holes. It said, if you don't like London anymore, Paulie, love, you can always move, but the rest of us love it just the way it is. What do you think it is about London, Raheem, that this leftist, this woman, loves, quote, just the way it is? I'm wondering, is it the acid attacks? Is it the fact we're rivaling Chicago for knife murders so far this year? Is it, the Islamic ghettos, the attempted or successful terrorist attacks? Which one do you think it is?
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up, and I just want your audience to know that you and I actually have never met. We don't sort of cooperate on stories, but it's interesting that you bring this tweet up, because I saw that tweet as well, and I started to look into the background of this person who sent it. I went onto her Facebook page, and sure enough, in the last couple of months, she's posted Facebook messages about how terrible it is that Islamic schools in the United Kingdom can segregate, and she's also posted about the acid attacks in London as well. So she's saying one thing on Twitter, Paul, and she's actually saying a complete other thing on Facebook to her friends in what she thinks is probably thinks is a private account. So I can't wait to get back onto this person about that, because she obviously recognizes that there are major problems in London, but simply to attack you, Paul, she grandstands. She does her whole show for Twitter and in your Twitter stream. And if you haven't seen these yet, I'm happy to send them to you, because I think it shows her up as a massive, massive hypocrite.
I'm just surprised she didn't delete the tweet immediately. I mean, mostly when I quote tweet people, they have mental breakdowns and lock down their Twitter account or just delete their entire account. So I'm impressed with her for not doing that. But the left pushes this narrative, Raheem, when we're talking about violent crime on the rise or terrorism in London, that it's cowardly and paranoid to say, no, we can't carry on as normal, as they say after every terror attack or every, mass stabbing. Yeah, we've seen several incidents now, 2 in Oxford Street recently, just over the past 2 months, where people do immediately fly into mass panic on a whim. In the case of those 2 incidents, they weren't even terrorist attacks. So, is everyone keeping calm and carrying on as normal, or is this actually changing the behavior of people who live in major cities like London?
Look, I'm a London boy, born and raised, as you Northerners refer to me, softy, and I've seen the city change so almost inexorably. I don't see how we're going to get it back in my lifetime. I have the benefit of seeing it from near and from afar, because I often travel to here in the United States, where I am now, and I go back every so often, and I see the city changing. I was raised in West London in a place called Uxbridge. That looks nothing like it used to look. East London looks nothing like it used to look. South London looks nothing like it used to look. The only pockets that look similar in London at the moment are the major tourist areas. Westminster Abbey, your Parliament Square, Soho's pretty much the same. And if you live in one of these bohemian areas, if you live in, I guess, what the French call the bobo areas, then life seems completely normal to you. But actually, if you get out there into real London, into the suburbs, go out there into places like Tower Hamlets, go out into places like Hayes End, the entire demographics are changing. It's dirty, it's filthy, crime rates are soaring. Over the last year, the mayor has 40 ways, the mayor's office has 40 ways they track crime, 40 categories. Over the last year, only in 6 of those categories has there been a dip, and it's only a slight dip. in crime, minus 1.2%, minus 2.8%, whatever. In the rest of the categories, the rest of the 40 categories, it's double-digit rises in crime across London. Burglary up, rape up, homicide up, youth homicide up. Paul, gun crime up. I thought there weren't any guns in London.
It's incredible. And the thing that I've noticed and documented from, public statements where celebrities give interviews and say exactly where they live. It's not like I'm secretly stalking these people. It's public information. Raheem, the biggest virtue signalers about immigration, the biggest apologists for Islamism, live in the nicest areas of London possible where all these problems are minimal. So like you said, they always know they'll be able to escape the consequences because they have resources. They don't have to use public transport. They don't have to use the NHS necessarily. They can send their kids to the best schools, the ones that aren't overcrowded. Poor native Londoners don't have that luxury. So they not only have to put up with the consequences of all this, they also have to be lectured endlessly about how racist they are by, completely disconnected celebrities like Gary Lineker and Lily Allen. I mean, it's relentless at this point.
Yeah, and Bob Geldof and all these lovies who actually just, Bob Geldof was literally seen flipping off with two fingers the fishermen ahead of the Brexit vote, the fishermen who sailed their boats down, took 2 days off work, lost a load of money, but to protest against that, he literally stuck two fingers up at them from his gin palace on the River Thames. Hold that thought, Raheem. We've
got a break coming up. We'll be back in 3 minutes. The book is No-Go Zones. Raheem Kassam, INFOWARS. We are back with the editor of Breitbart London and author of the book No-Go Zones, which is excellent. I've read it. I'm going to tell you how you can get it here in a few minutes. Raheem Kassam. Raheem, let's talk about no-go zones, because if you remember back in early 2015, the media was still claiming that they were a conspiracy theory. We had the mayor of Paris tried to sue Fox News for saying there were no-go zones in Paris. Here we are 3 years later, mail companies refuse to deliver to these areas. The German government's telling women not to go out alone at night. Swedish police are installing microphones in no-go zones to pick up the sound of women's screams. We've got crime stats out of Germany, Sweden, showing that violent crime is skyrocketing. I mean, are you as hopeless as, for example, someone like Douglas Murray, who, in his book lays out a very skeptical future for these European countries, where this demographic trend, which has created some of these no-go zones, is just impossible to overcome? Do you see are you that hopeless, or do you see a way out of this demographically as we go forward?
I suppose it depends on where you're talking about specifically. Germany, I don't see a way forward for them. France, I don't see a way forward for them. But when you look at the Visegrad group, the Hungaries, the Polands, and even when you look at a country like the United Kingdom with our Brexit vote in 2016, there is still the semblance of hope out there that these things can be reversed. But we actually have to start having really, really tough conversations that people don't want to have. And I've tried to have these conversations over the past year, especially regarding the 25,000 or odd people who are on the Islamic radical watch list in the United Kingdom. I've tried to open up a discussion publicly about what it would entail to actually start deporting some of these people if indeed they have come from foreign countries. And as we know, as you said earlier on in the program, now we're looking at these statistics in the United States and finding that 4/5, I think, is the latest number of terror attacks being committed by people from foreign countries. I suspect that we have a lot of that going on in the United Kingdom too. We keep being told, oh no, but this is homegrown and so on and so forth. I don't think that they're being completely honest about those, and they don't release any statistics, and I suspect we know why they don't release any statistics. So in answer to your question, I think there is some hope for some European countries and for the United Kingdom. But actually, the one thing that I've been saying most recently, Paul, and you will recognize this, having sort of 1 foot on either side of the Atlantic as well, is that the reason that the Americans often succeed in standing athwart history and yelling stop, as it were, is because they are active citizens in their politics. The British public tend to be quite laid back when it comes to politics. They think that these experts and these politicians will come around to their way of thinking for some reason, and they don't. So they don't get involved in their school boards. They don't get involved in their local council meetings. They don't get involved in politics at any level. And what I'm telling people is actually, if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to bother being part of the solution, then you are part of the problem.
Now, you mentioned the different levels of interest there in the UK and the US. I mean, there's still voracious interest from my American audience in this migrant crisis, in these no-go zones, in these Islamic ghettos. Even, 2.5, 3 years later, it just shows you, they see Europe as the example that they don't want to become. You mentioned Germany. Of course, now we got no-go zones in Germany where we didn't have them in certain areas before. I put out this video yesterday, and you put it up as well. German public television showing soap opera characters converting to Islam in front of their kids. We've got professors in Germany, and you had this story up on Breitbart, talking about mass drugging the population with oxytocin to make them more accepting of migrants. We're rolling the clip out of the German soap opera right now. We had another public television show in Germany where it was a 16-year-old girl in a relationship with an adult Syrian migrant. That was all presented very positively. Do you think this is just all like well-intentioned idiocy from the refugees welcome crowd? Or do you think it represents something more insidious in Germany in particular?
Well, the foot soldiers of the Open Society Foundation Army and the Angela Merkel Brigade, they are morons. They are turkeys voting for Christmas. I don't expect any level of critical thinking or analysis into the future from these people. But the people at the top know exactly what they're doing here. It's partly, and you've heard this before, so you'll forgive me, but it's partly to do with big corporate interests. They want cheap migrant labor. Some things in Germany just don't change with their attitude to human beings, let's say, and they like exploiting people. And Germany is becoming, again, prolific at doing that in this century as it did in the last century. And part of it is also the fact that if you change the demographics of a nation, if you eradicate things that people can convalesce around, be it a flag, be it an anthem, any of these things, then people become much more pliable. It's much more easy to manipulate people who don't have other things that they gather around. It could be language, for instance, and we're seeing that taking place here in the United States at the moment, where they're trying to make the case, make the argument that actually there is a place in the United States for more than one flag and more than one anthem and more than one language. I would argue that that is a very, very insidious and well thought out plan being carried out right now. The one thing that they didn't countenance, they didn't consider in all of this is the free media, is critical thinkers out there doing things like you, Paul, off your own backs in many instances, spending all of your time, all of your money, all of your effort fighting back against this stuff. And to the army of people out there who are considering, should I do it? I'm kind of scared. I might be targeted. Yeah, you might be targeted, but you'll be dead anyway. You will not be leaving a country to your children that you inherited. So unless you fight, what the heck is the point? What are you doing?
No, we just got a few minutes left here, Raheem. I want to give you a chance to plug the book. Switching gears, though, UKIP. I mean, you were involved in the UKIP leadership election last time around. Looks like Henry Bolton may be on his way out. That remains to be seen. Yeah. Would you consider running again for the UKIP leadership position?
Unfortunately, I've thought long and hard about this, spent a lot of time talking to very significant people in the Brexit movement over the last couple of days. I don't believe that UKIP has a route forward. And I can get into all sorts of boring and bureaucratic, pedantic things that are going on inside UKIP that makes that not possible. And I might spell that out in an article shortly. But at this point in time, I think I can do far more for Brexit and for the people of the United Kingdom by continuing running a news organisation like Breitbart London and doing all the other things that I do as well. So at this point in time, I'm not quite ready to put my hat in. And I don't think that time is going to come, if I'm honest with you, Paul. As much as it kills me to say so, I just don't think it's salvageable. I think we need something new.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, a lot of people are now saying that UKIP's obviously in disarray. It needs to be rebranded. They need to start from scratch, basically. That's a sentiment popular amongst many people right now. I just want to give you a chance in the final couple of minutes. Tell people where they can find you on Twitter and where they can get the book, which, again, I've read it. It's excellent. Everyone needs to go out and get it. Where can they do so?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, all those places. It's called No-Go Zones, How Sharia is Coming to a Neighborhood Near You. Actually contained on-the-ground research, which I know is weird, for the media to be doing nowadays. I went to all these places, saw it firsthand, interviewed key players across all these communities. I tweet about it a lot at Raheem Kassam. I now have a Patreon as well if you want to support my work, and Facebook fan page as well. So I appreciate you giving me the chance to plug all of that. The book is No Go Zones.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Editor of Breitbart London and author of No Go Zones, Raheem Kassam. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Paul.
There goes Raheem Kassam. We have a couple of minutes left here in the show. I'm just going to hit on a couple of final news stories. Islamophobic hijab scissors attack story championed by Justin Trudeau revealed as fake news. You probably heard about this. It was an 11-year-old Muslim girl who claimed she'd been attacked in Toronto by a man with a pair of scissors who attempted to cut off her hijab. At the time, the Prime Minister, the virtue signaller-in-chief, Justin Trudeau, decried the attack. Basically tried to make out that it was an illustration of how Islamophobic Canadian society is. It's not. It's the most tolerant in the world, probably. But on Monday, Toronto police confirmed that the alleged assault never took place. Once again, it was a fake hate crime. Who faked it? We don't know. Was it the parents of this girl? Was it the girl herself who cut her own hijab? But after a detailed investigation, police have determined that the events described in the original news release did not happen. The investigation is concluded. They've slammed the lid shut. Will Justin Trudeau come out and issue a retraction, given that he stood behind this incident and said it was a dark omen of the Islamophobia that plagues Canadian society? Will he retract? I won't be holding my breath. We mentioned this earlier. DHS reports 3 out of every 4 terrorism offenders since 9/11 were foreign-born, completely debunking Cory Booker's claim that the biggest threat is white supremacists. It's not. Every Swedish household to receive guide on how to handle terror attacks. Again, people are trying to portray what's going on in Sweden, in Germany is perfectly normal and natural. They're safe, stable countries. No, they're not. In certain areas, it's absolute bedlam, and we all know the reason why. That's going to wrap it up for the 4th hour. War Room